Hey, you're going to be talking about four chords and how you can use them to write some good songs. So we're going to jump right in to some interesting progressions, some interesting songs, some good examples of how four chords could be used in progressions. And I want to get your take on whether you think they're really good songs or just average songs, because we want to really unpack four chords and see if that's enough to make for good songwriting. Okay. So we're going to jump right in and we're going to look at a classic song that is from back in the day. And this does not have four chords. Okay. So this is a song, Kodachrome. We actually have analyzed this song in a previous live stream here, but this is Paul Simon, and it is well beyond four chords. So I'm going to kind of use this as a baseline to establish this is what a chord progression sounds like if it has more than four chords. And then we're going to play some songs that have only four chords and look at the theory behind them to see how they compare. Okay, so let's start with just a quick overview of Kodachrome, just to kind of get to set the bar here. This is Kodachrome, Paul Simon, and you can see here, and like I say in an earlier live stream, we analyzed this in detail. But not only does this song have more than four chords, but it actually switches between modes and keys. So it goes from E Ionian, or E major key, to an A major key in the chorus. So it's got a lot of harmonic movement. So it's E major to A major to an F sharp minor to a B7 to an E to A, F sharp minor to B7 to E, and then it's A, C sharp, F sharp, B minor to E, A to D, B7 to E7 to A, C sharp, F sharp, and it's like all over the place, right? So that's the bar that we're working with, using Paul Simon's Kodachrome to kind of set, to calibrate us towards what a really amazing chord progression is. Now, like I say, I picked this apart in an earlier video, and there's a post on this on Locals if you want to like get these chord diagrams and play through this chord progression at your own pace. But this song has, you know, a 1 chord in the key of E, and a 4 chord in the key of E, a 2 minor 2 major 5, and so far that's 4 chords. But then it gets into, you know, you get a C major, an F sharp major, a B minor, a D chord. It's like well beyond 4 chords. Okay, so that's pretty awesome, and it just sounds like so much harmonic variety. It lends itself to a really cool melody. But songwriters, and especially songwriters in more recent years and decades, because Paul Simon's Kodachrome is like from the early 70s, right? And so we've had decades since then that songwriting and popular songwriting has evolved, and evolution implies that it's an improvement, but it's just changed, right? And maybe because people have shorter attention spans, maybe because songwriters don't have the same kind of chops that like a Paul Simon has. And so chord progressions have kind of been whittled down to tighter and tighter loops, to the point where it's just a cycle, and a 4 chord cycle, right? So we're going to look at some examples of songs that do it. And one that a songwriter who is well known for doing this is Ed Sheeran. And you can see he has what could be a self-satisfied smile on his face, because he's able to take really simple chord progressions, 4 chords often, not always, but often, loop them into a song and get lots of plays out of these. So for example, the first song that we're going to look at is his song Perfect, and above it, to date, this song has almost 4 billion views or listens on YouTube. Okay, so it's not Kodachrome. You can see already that it's just 4 chords. And these 4 chords are in the key of A flat major. So I'm going to play through the chord progression, then we're going to look at it on the chord map to see what's going on here and why these particular chords are used and why they work. So it's so it's an A flat major, major 1, to an F minor, which is a 6, minor 6, to a D flat major, major 4 chord, to an E flat major chord, which is a 5. Now the chorus actually does go into another chord progression, so there is more harmonic variety in the song. To be fair to Ed Sheeran, there's more variety. But these 4 chords are really satisfying, and in my opinion, the melody of, here, let's show this. It's in the key of A flat major, right? And it's just, so it's 3 2 1 3 3 3 3 2 1 3 3 3. So it's really simple. It's just based on that A flat major scale. So the melody itself is really simple. It's just moving through that scale. The chord progression is equally simple in that it's in the key of A flat. So we're going to take the numerals and we're going to rotate them over to A flat. So the A flat, or the major chord. So if you're new to the chord map, major chords are in this inner ring, as shown by the uppercase Roman numerals. Minor chords are in this middle ring, lowercase Roman numerals, and then diminished chords with the little circle are in the outer ring. And the 4 chords in this song are A flat major, F minor, so a major 1, a minor 6, a 4, D flat major, and E flat major 5. So it's just these 4 chords, which is a really common grouping because they're so compatible. You have the tonic with its relative minor, so the major 1 with its minor 6, and then the 4 and the 5 are the subdominant and the dominant, which flank the tonic. So these 3 chords are in the 12-bar blues. At least this song incorporates at least one more chord beyond just the 1 4 5, and that's the minor 6, which is a really popular, common, and frankly safe chord to pull from. So again, that's A flat major 1 to a F minor, minor 6, to a D flat major, major 4, E flat major 5, back to that 1. So it's definitely not changing keys like Paul Simon did in Kodachrome. And it is quite satisfying, but I'm interested to know if you think it's on the same level. And maybe it's not fair to compare songs because a song can and should stand on its own, and it has its own vibe. It has its own story with the lyrics, its own chord progression, and the chord progression in this case is much simpler. This is in Ionian, or a major key. So we're in A flat Ionian because the tonic is a major 1, but there are also other 4 chord loops, 4 chord progressions that use chords in a minor key. And speaking of Ed Sheeran, we're going to look at another song by his, which is Shape of You. And this song has almost double the number of views. And right now, as of today, it's over 6 billion views. And it is a really simple progression as well. And in this case, I believe this entire song just loops through these 4 chords. So in this case, it's a minor 1. So it's in a minor key. It's in A flat, or C sharp or D flat Aeolian. So it has more of a minor or mysterious kind of maybe romantic vibe. And then you've got a minor 4, a flat major 6, and a flat major 7. So we'll play through this progression and then we'll look at the theory of these chords on the chord map to see why these particular chords are used. So it's let's see. Oh, F sharp major. So it's a minor 1 to a minor 4 to a flat major 6, to a flat major 7, to a minor 1, to a minor 4, to a flat major 6, to a flat major 7, to a minor 1, and then ad nauseum, right? Or at least repeated, maybe not ad nauseum. that might not be fair, but it is actually a really catchy song. And like I say, instead of Ionian, we're in Aeolian, and in this case, it's a D flat major or D flat minor chord. So what we're going to do is we're going to rotate the numerals, so the minor 1 is aligned with the D flat, and then we're going to group the chords. And in this case, it is a minor 1, D flat minor, and then we have, or let's just call it C sharp minor, and then we have F sharp minor, which is a minor 4, and then we have A major, a flat major 6, and B major, a flat major 7. So whereas we were using these 4 chords in the last song, now we're using these 2 chords and these 2 chords. And so we have a minor 1, minor 4, flat major 6, and flat major 7. And again, that's minor 1, minor 4, flat major 6, I'm still here, and flat major 7, minor 1. So a C sharp minor to an F sharp minor to an A major to a B major. And you can hear that this song has a different vibe than the first one, whereas the other song that we played was da 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 da. Let's see. It's much sweeter. This one is more like tense. It's a little more like. So you can hear the difference between Ionian, the first song, Perfect, by Ed Sheeran. This song, Shape of You, is in Aeolian. And Ionian, a major key, versus Aeolian, a minor key, have very different vibes. But the cool thing is whether you're in a major key or a minor key, you can use 4 chords like Ed Sheeran has done in these examples to come up with a really cool loop. Again, it's not Kodachrome. It's not the same kind of harmonic movement. It's much more repetitive. And that's why I was tempted to use the phrase ad nauseum, because it is a much tighter loop. But it also almost has like a more primitive or primal vibe to it, being such a shorter, simpler loop that anyone listening to that song can kind of like catch the groove and get into it. So minor 1, minor 4, flat major 6, and flat major 7 is a really cool chord progression in Aeolian. There are other examples in Aeolian that we can look at, and let's do that with this next example, which I'll pull up here. And between those 2 songs, though, we're already at between, what is that, 6.2 billion and 3.7 billion. What is that? We're over 10 billion views between 8 chords, between 2 chord progressions, 4 chords each. To be fair, Paul Simon, Kodachrome released that song well before YouTube, right? So we're talking about younger, more modern artists, and in the age of YouTube, they have way more views. But is that necessarily an indication or representative of the quality of the song? Absolutely not. But it's interesting to see. Another example is by the Chainsmokers, and it's a song called "Don't Let Me Down," not to be confused with the Beatles song "Don't Let Me Down." This one is also in Aeolian. In this case, it's G sharp minor or G sharp Aeolian, and it has 2 billion views, which is pretty awesome. And in this case, it's a little different. Whereas the other songs, we had the tonic or the 1, whether it's a major 1 or a minor 1 at the start. In this case, we have the tonic at the end of the loop. And so the song cycles around and hits the tonic at the end and then loops around again and again to repeat this progression. So in this example, it's, let's see. So it's playing here. We are going into an E major chord. So that's that flat major 6 to a flat major 3 of B major to a flat major 7 of F sharp minor to a G sharp minor, minor 1. So let's look at what that chord progression is on the chord map to get a sense of why those chords, right? So whereas the last song was in C sharp minor, this one is in G sharp minor. So we're just going to rotate the numerals in the grouping 1 notch to the right. And in this case, we're in G sharp minor because it has a minor 1. It's Aeolian, so G sharp minor or G sharp Aeolian. It has a, well, the chord progression actually doesn't start at minor 1. It starts at this flat major 6, which is E, and then it goes to B, and then F sharp, and then G minor. So it's flat major 6, flat major 3, flat major 7, and a minor 1. Now it's interesting because, again, we're using those 4 chords that are in that grouping. In a major key, if this was B major would be, I'm going to keep the grouping the same, but rotate this over to the 1 position. It would be flanked by its subdominant and dominant, or its 4 and 5 respectively, with the minor 6. But in this case, it's actually in the key of G sharp minor, so it's a minor key. That's why it has that kind of darker, more romantic, tense vibe. But it's basically the same chords. It's just treating this chord as the tonic, as the tonal home bass. And so, but again, we're playing this very, I don't want to call it safe, but it's a very proven chord grouping of these 3 major chords and this minor chord. But again, treating the G minor as the 1. So it's and you know the tonic, and I'll do more discussion about this in another video about identifying the tonic. But it's basically like, and you can tell it especially in a short, tight loop like this, wherever the chord progression could end and sound like it's come to a final point, or it's resolved. So using this example, so we play an E major to a B major to an F sharp major. Maybe you could say the F sharp major is a point of resolution. You get to that. You can tell that G sharp minor chord is the tonic. So that's how you know that the tonic is actually this 1, even though it starts with this flat major 6. So again, flat major 6, flat major 3, flat major 7, minor 1. I don't know if you know the song Don't Let Me Down by the Chainsmokers. It's actually a really good song. It's really catchy. It's no Kodachrome, but is that okay? Like, I think it is okay. But it definitely, it could be, again, that these songs are on tighter loops because of the attention span or auditory sophistication of the audience, that maybe people just aren't used to hearing songs with more nuance like Kodachrome. Or it could be that the songwriters aren't familiar with some of the connections between chords to come up with more sophisticated chord progressions. Could be a combination of both. The end result actually sounds really good. And as far as they're concerned, they have a lot of views. So maybe they don't care that it's less sophisticated. I don't know. But let's look at another song by Luis Fonsi. And this is Despacito. This is the winner of all, if we were treating views as the winner, in air quotes. But Despacito is you may have heard it before. You've definitely heard the chord progression, because this chord progression is used actually in a lot of songs. But it's it's actually in B minor. So it's So again, it resolves to that B minor. So we've got a minor 1. So we are starting with the tonic in this case, minor 1, B minor, to a flat major 6 of G. We'll look at this on the chord map in just a moment here. And then D major is a flat major 3. And then to an A, which is a flat major 7. So what does that mean, like in terms of harmonic space? Well, in this case, we're going to go to B minor. So we're going to rotate over so that the minor 1 aligns with B minor. So we're in B Aeolian, and we have a flat major 6, a flat major 3, a flat major 7, and a B minor. Notice that once again, the 4 chords, these 3 major chords and this minor chord form a very satisfying progression, a very satisfying grouping. So we have the minor 1, B minor, to a G major, flat major 6, to a D major, to flat major 3, to a flat major 7, A. And actually I have, this progression is so common that there's another song by Ed Sheeran called Shivers. I did a mashup of these. There's a post in Locals in the library in the Song Insight playlist. It's like fascinating to hear the 2 songs mashed up. And so if you want to check that out, you can hear the 2 songs. Again, Ed Sheeran is getting in on the 4 chord loop and playing what is, you kind of can't go wrong with a chord progression like that. So it's a really good one. And it's interesting to see that this chord progression is so common. The minor 1, flat major 6, flat major 3, and flat major 7, or those 4 chords sound so good together that if we were to rotate the numerals and say instead of playing it in B minor, we're playing it in D Ionian or D major. So same 4 chords, but with D major as the tonic. We cycle through those same chords in that same sequence. It's going to sound like this. My hands are tied. Body blue, she got me with nothing written and nothing left to do. Give yourself away. Notice how it's literally the same chords. With or without you. With or without you. So in this case, in this example, U2 took those same 4 chords but treated the tonic as this D major chord. Louis Fonsi, or whoever wrote that song, if Louis Fonsi wasn't the songwriter, was like, hey, those 4 chords in that sequence sound amazing. I'm just going to treat the B minor as the tonic and cycle through them, and I'm going to rack up over 8 billion views on just that one chord progression. It is actually amazing. And this song does just cycle through those same 4 chords. So far, the only song that I've talked about here with 4 chords that actually does break outside of that tight loop was Perfect. Ed Sheeran does have a different chord progression in the chorus of that song. But otherwise, all of these songs have just 4 chords. It's remarkable, actually, how much variety you can come up with. One more example I'm going to talk about is The Weeknd it's Blinding Lights by The Weeknd. And it's, I think, a decent song. It has almost 1 billion views, which means that it's doing something, right? Now, of course, it's more than just the chord progression in all of these examples. The melody on top of it, you have to be pretty innovative when it comes to melodies to come up with something that's catchy and that you want to hear again. Using only 4 chords, but this one is let's see. what is this chord progression? Because it does sound a little bit different from what we've done so far, because we've been playing with Ionian, the major key. The last 3 examples were in Aeolian, or a minor key. This one's a little bit different. It has a minor 1 at the start. It's F minor, minor 1, to a C minor, a minor 5, and then a E flat major 7, and a B flat major, major 4. Well, it is, the answer is already right there, but it's F Dorian. Let's see what that looks like on the chord map. And so in this case, we're in the key of F, but it's F minor. So this is going to be the tonic way over here. So we're going to rotate the numerals so that F is the tonic. And in this case, we have a minor 5, a flat major 7, or an E flat major, and the major 4. So we need to rotate this over. It's not Aeolian like we've been playing in the other examples. It's actually F Dorian, because the chords are minor 1, F minor, minor 5, C minor, flat major 7, E flat major, and a major 4 or B flat. So we're in Dorian in this case, and Dorian does have a slightly more wistful feel. It's kind of like the love child between Ionian and Aeolian, because the interval pattern is a little bit in between. And so it almost has like a slightly different vibe. Like you can hear Blinding Lights by The Weeknd does sound a little bit more, it's almost like more mellow than, say, Despacito. So it's, again, F minor, that's minor 1, C minor, minor 5, E flat major, the flat major 7, a major 4, E flat major, and then it just cycles on and on and on until the song is done. It's actually, I think, a catchy song, but again, it's pretty different than, say, something like Kodachrome by Paul Simon, that is like, just really moving across the fretboard, moving through harmonic space. And so, you look at Kodachrome and you're like, whoa, this summarizes the chord progressions. The first verse versus the intro, verse 1 and verse 3 are in Ionian. So in this case, E flat major is the tonic. And in the other verses 2 and 4, E flat major is also the tonic. But then in this chorus, we're shifting into A Ionian. And then also in the interlude and outro, we're like in A Ionian, but we have some borrowed chords outside of the key, and we have these chords in the chorus. So like I say, Kodachrome is all over the place. It's really cool. And so if you combine the views on YouTube, we have, between the songs that we just looked at, and I'm counting Shiver because Shiver has like 350 million. So I'm adding that to the 8 billion. We get almost 21 billion views using 4 chords. And then Paul Simon, with his official audio version of Kodachrome, has 6.7 million views as of today. And this is like, this is 4+ chords, and it's a big plus. There are a lot of chords. And so the question is, are 4 chords better because they have more views? Of course, there are factors, generational factors, technology factors, when these songs came out. But you can kind of see the look on Paul Simon's face. He's like, what the hell is going on here? My song is awesome, and it has 6.7 million views. Anyway, that is a look at 4 chords. There's actually a lot more to 4 chord progressions. We're just kind of scratching the surface here in terms of examples, different modes of 4 chords, and how you can use them. But something to keep in mind is that common popular grouping of these 3 major chords with the minor chord, actually not in Dorian, in Aeolian. That is a really common one, whether it's a major or a minor key, so Ionian or Aeolian. But the last example was kind of cool in that it shows us that you can use 4 chords in other modes as well, like Dorian, to come up with some really interesting progressions. And there are many more other progressions that we could get into, but at a high level, those are some interesting progressions. And let's jump into what you think about this. And Keane music, you're pretty sure that Glass Bottles by Keane has 4 chords. So it's an A minor, F major, C, G. Okay, so that sounds familiar. If we go to, I'm going to go to the chord map here. We have A minor, just rotate over to A minor. So because sounds like A minor would be the minor 1. So A minor, Aeolian. And then we have F, C, and G. So F, C, and G, sure enough. In a minor key, we have the minor 1, flat major 6, flat major 3, and flat major 7. If I'm hearing that correctly as A minor is the tonic, which I would guess is the case. Not always is the first chord the tonic, but A minor, F, flat major 6, flat major 3, C, and flat major 7, G. That's really cool. Keane Glass Bottles. Give that a listen. And it might not be correct, though. Well, it's probably a pretty good guess, just based on the examples we've looked at here, which is that minor 1, a flat major 6, flat major 6, flat major 3, and a flat major 7 are, you almost can't go wrong, right? With a chord progression like that. Keane music, by the way, have you heard some of the B-sides and rarities of Keane? Yes, I actually love Keane. They're really good. Some of my personal favorites are Glass Bottles, My Shadow, Fly to Me, and The End of the Earth. Tom Chaplin of Keane is crazy good. Actually, they're all amazingly good. I actually went to a Keane concert where I was on the front row, front and center, and was looking at Tom Chaplin's shoes as he sang because he was right there. I felt bad because I whistled really loud between songs, and he actually like hunched down and like plugged his ears because my whistle was so loud, and I was afraid that I had almost deafened one of my favorite musicians. Yes, I do love Keane, and I don't know if My Shadow I'd have to hear again to recognize it, but Fly to Me, End of the Earth, yes, love them, so good. So yeah, 4 chords can be really good. And I know I kind of like have maybe hinted at 4 chords being inferior. I was using Paul Simon's Kodachrome as the bass line as an example of, a great chord progression. In my opinion, that song is like a masterpiece. Kodachrome, definitely check it out if you haven't heard it. But these other ones really are good. Like these other songs are really good. It's just like a different kind of, it's like it's like a 7-layer cake as opposed to maybe a cupcake. Maybe still sounds like I'm disparaging the simpler songs with simpler chord progressions, but I'll eat a good cupcake over something else any day. Like it's really good. You don't have necessarily a 7-layer cupcake, but it is pretty sweet and can satisfy your sweet tooth. So I like it. And I think that working within limitations of like a simple chord progression does almost force you to get creative with the melody, get creative with the accompaniment and the production of a song to make up for the limitation of the chord progression. It's like, what's his name? Shakespeare wrote an iambic pentameter, which is like this kind of certain meter of words that you could say is like, well, he's going to come up with crap, right? Because that's like, how good can you get with iambic pentameter? Well, if you look at Shakespeare's catalog, you can get pretty damn good. So a limitation or constraint isn't necessarily negative. It could result in amazing things because you're forced to get creative. Just a thought. Hey, Peter, it's cool to have you on. So direct quote from Being Creedence Clearwater Revival CCR songs typically use a straightforward approach when it comes to chords. Most of their popular songs are composed of just 3 to 4 basic chords. That's very true. And actually something that I've noticed about CCR is their cymbals. Like, you know how like you can get in rhythm, like I like playing air drums, listening to a song sometimes. And Creedence, I always know when he's going to hit the crash, because it is pretty predictable. You know, like the drummer is pretty straightforward with his drumming, but there's something endearing about that and satisfying. So I don't feel like I'm thrown off too much. Like I can get into the groove. So that's a good example. And yeah, they do actually tend to have simpler chord progressions and amazing melodies. CCR has really good melodies, and it might be due to what we're talking about here, which is the constraint of the harmony leads to a blossoming of the melody, since the two do go hand in hand. That's a good example. CCR's got some really good stuff. Did anyone ever see Creedence Clearwater Revisited on tour? I think I saw them. I'm trying to think. Pretty good music and using harmony. So the cool thing about harmony is, and the fact that these patterns there's a method to the madness, to quote Shakespeare. There's a method to the madness, that chords aren't just strung together randomly. There's a theory behind these chords, and you can explore it, using the circle of fifths, using the chord map. And as always, I'll be posting these diagrams that we've been looking at here on the post in local, so you can pick these apart at your own pace and really soak it in and get a feel for these examples. There are many more examples that we can dive into in some upcoming streams, but fun to kind of geek out about these. So that is 4 chords in a nutshell. In my opinion, I think you can come up with some great songs with 4 chords, but you have to get pretty creative in the process. So have a great rest of your evening. We'll wrap it up here, and I will talk to you very soon. We'll geek out on music theory coming right up. Have a good rest of your day. Bye, guys.